Hey there gamers, Dreamcastguy here, and today we're talking about 30 years of PlayStation, because it's wild to actually consider the fact that it's been 3 decades since the first PlayStation came out. Now, I've been there from pretty much the start. I think I played a PlayStation for the first time in early 1996, but I wanted to just reflect on this because Sony posted a big digital museum that actually archives, that has screenshots, that talks about the wildness of the entire history of PlayStation from the starts all the way up to the PlayStation 5. And I kind of want to take a look at it because I've seen a lot of PlayStation people, especially over on the Reddits and stuff, saying it is primo legit. So let's take a look at it. I wanted to kind of capture my first time reaction to the website, to the museum, and kind of share some fun PlayStation memories. I kind of want to do this as well because it's the day before Thanksgiving and I'm feeling very, very thankful. I mean, the fact that I've gotten a chance to play video games as a job now for almost 10 years, I just want to say genuinely, I love you guys. I love every like, every subscribe, every comment. I cannot thank you guys enough. So thank you. And before I start to be too much of a sappy goof, let's actually take a look at the website itself. So here it is. This is just such a cool reflection upon it. 30 years of play, which is such a cool way of phrasing that. Join us as we journey through PlayStation's history and the consoles and games that made us. So it has all these cool running pages. Look at that. 1984, I think, did this freeze? Nope, there it goes. Oh, it's currently loading. Nice. How many people are on this website right now? Originally released in Japan in December 3rd, 1994, September 9th, 1995, and September 29th, 1995 in Europe. 30 years ago, our journey with the PlayStation console begins. Launching in Japan, the first PlayStation console became an instant hit and went on to be a breakout hit product of E3 1995 and launched later that year to huge success in North America and Europe. Now, I still remember the first time I ever saw a PlayStation. I've mentioned this in the past, but I was pretty broke as a kid. I think a lot of people in the 90s were pretty dang broke, unless your family was super well off. But because of it, everybody in the neighborhood was super broke. Each person had like 2 games and maybe 1 game console. So you'd find the other kids that had the same game console as you, and you all trade games constantly. It made it where you basically had, because of the whole neighborhood, you had basically like a pool, a library of games you could all trade. There was one guy, Hector, up the street, who only had Metal Gear Solid, and he just played Metal Gear Solid over and over and over again. He basically would beat it like a long movie whenever kids came over. But it's interesting that the first time I ever saw it, it was Crash Bandicoot, and I was blown away by how good the audio was. I mean, I feel like people today, you cannot imagine what CD audio sounded like for the first time, especially if you've only been listening to like bad quality tapes up to that point. CD quality audio in a video game, especially beyond cartridge audio, it was wild crisp. Do not underestimate the power of PlayStation. What a cool piece of art. This is Tekken. Oh man, the Namco racing game streetcar. We got Jumping Flash. Is this Ace Combat? Of course, the big old twisted metal. That is so good. I could just see the waist of Crash Bandicoot right there. Oh my god. This is so cool, man. This original console design, obviously there's a lot of better consoles out there, but this one still just presses all the nostalgia buttons in my brain so much. Since the launch of the original PlayStation, it went on to sell over 102 million consoles worldwide. Holy heck. Changing the game, the launch of the PlayStation console introduced players to a new dimension in games. Traditional 2D experiences gave way to real-time rendering of more complex 3D worlds that pushed the boundaries of what was possible from home video games. Man, this really is the biggest thing to me. People just cannot imagine 3D graphics. Going from Mario to this was like such a look, man, Mario's good, but going from Super Mario World on the SNES to this was like the most brain exploding thing ever. Minimum color depth, 16 million colors, 32-bit CPU, 3D graphics with polygon processing power meant the original PlayStation could bring 3D arcade games like Tekken and Ridge Racer into the home and support all new, visually thrilling experiences such as Wipeout and Crash Bandicoot. That is so cool. All right, I want to jump over to PlayStation 2. So going on to the PlayStation 2, the video for this broke, but there's supposed to be a PlayStation 2 here, I assume. And it says, Japanese release date March 4th, 2000. Wow. It really came out pretty much to the day 5 years after the PlayStation 1. The PlayStation 2's generation included giant steps forward in home console gaming with augmented reality, online multiplayer gaming, and more ambitiously, large-scale DVD discs. It is a little bit funny that the way that Sony thinks about the PlayStation 2 is the power of the DVD. I mean, arguably, that's one of the reasons the PlayStation 2 sold so well is that people forget this now, but this was the cheapest DVD player on the planet. At the time, DVD players were hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So if your thought was like, all right, I got to pay like $400 for a DVD player or $350 for a DVD player that also plays video games, yeah, I guess I'll pick it up. There are pictures I've seen in the past where stores would buy like 5 or 10 or 20 PlayStation 2s to use those as the DVD player in the storefront. I feel like window shopping doesn't exist now the way it did in the 90s and early 2000s and stuff, but if there used to be like a TV in the screen in the window and it'd be playing, Die Hard or something, and so get people to stop and look at the TV and stuff like that. And if you would notice, there'd be a PlayStation 2 beneath it. So it's funny to think about the fact that the PlayStation 2 was so ubiquitous, even just as a freaking viewing device. Live in your world, play in ours. Yeah, that used to be the motto of the PlayStation 2. That's so cool. 160 million consoles sold. Jesus. Is that has to be the biggest console of all time, right? I think the Nintendo Switch is like at 152 million. Live in your world, play in ours. God, I love this advertising. Look at that Crash Bandicoot. The grand reveal of the PlayStation 2, changing the game, offering cutting-edge gaming, DVD playback, online functionality, backwards compatibility with the original PlayStation. The PlayStation 2 console represented an irresistible package at launch throughout its lifespan. The Emotion Engine. Oh my God, I forgot that term. The PS2's console CPU was dubbed the Emotion Engine due to its ability to generate realistic images from the time and was comprised of 8 separate units, each of a specific function. Oh my God, I do remember that. That's why they would have those weird trailers of like all sorts of characters showing emotion that was never before done. I still remember Medal of Honor Frontline. Before Medal of Honor Frontline came out, there was some gaming magazine, I think it was like EGM in like 1999 or the year 2000s on the dot. And they were saying, we had a chance to play Medal of Honor Frontline. This game is so realistic. There's a mission where you go into a bar, you knock a beer off of a ladder to distract the Nazi guards. You can sneak past them and you could see the individual expressions on their faces. And when I played that scene, yeah, it did blow my mind. But if you played Medal of Honor Frontline now, the characters they look like Muppets by comparison of our current day graphics. They're like, oh, it is me. You can only have like 5 characters on screen at once. I feel like that's the funniest thing to imagine is just how much back in the day, the technological compromises they had to do to get anything running. Console variants. Oh yeah, look at that. The original PlayStation 2 Slim, the PS2 Slim variants. PlayStation's first steps online. Oh my God, the HDD. Yeah, the PlayStation 2 network adapter. This is so cool. Online play enabled. In 2001, the console needed the helping hand of the PlayStation 2 network adapter, which slotted nearby into the rear of the system with an Ethernet port so it could play over the web. Oh yeah, you could play Final Fantasy 11 on that console. So I actually have a bunch of Final Fantasy 11. All the expansions were released as separate PS2 discs, and I have them. I mean, they're pretty much empty boxes because they don't do anything. The servers are shut down. But it is still wild to think about an MMORPG on consoles in 2001. What in the world? Like, to say that PlayStation was groundbreaking is a dramatic understatement. Now, obviously, the Dreamcast also had online games and stuff. In fact, PlayStation 2 or Dreamcast had way more online games, but it is still interesting to think about that. PlayStation 2 did way more just random stuff. Resident Evil Outbreak. I think one of the Metal Gear Solids had like an online mode, even on PS2. Okay, I want to skip over to the PlayStation Portable. Haha, 2004. Oh, man. I got the PlayStation Portable way, way, way late. Like pretty much when the console was dead, I got one because I was working at Wendy's at the time. So I had to buy it when they cost, I think when I bought mine, it was $100, but that was still very expensive at the time. So that must have been 2009. I got mine. No, yeah, 2009, because that's when I was working at Wendy's. So I got mine in 2009. Of course, I immediately hacked it and put a bunch of bootleg games on it, including a bunch of PS1 games and stuff like that. The PSP actually got me to play a bunch more random obscure stuff or even mainstream stuff. When I got that is when I went back and beat the last couple Square Enix games that I hadn't had a chance to play. The first time I played Chrono Trigger was actually on the PSP. The first time I beat Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6 was on the PSP. But riding the wave of the success of the PlayStation 2 era, it was time to try something new. PlayStation Portable took a console quality gaming away from the TV screen and put that world in a handheld device and combined full-scale gaming experiences with innovations in online technology and media playback. Yeah, media playback's definitely doing some water carrying there. If you watched movies on the PSP, it was possible. It was really, really bad, especially the original version of the PSP had a really bad screen. It had an effect called ghosting. So, I really love the Grand Theft Auto games that were on PSP, but when you would look around, there'd be all these trails on the screen that looked super weird. The PSP took the world by storm by being a pocket powerhouse, giving owners not only a portable gaming system, but also DVD quality movie playback and MP3 music player. It just seems so silly to be like, hell yeah, man, don't forget DVDs. Over its lifetime, the PSP sold over 80 million units. My God. That's insane. I've never known that before. That's so big. Gosh dang. Changing the game, the PlayStation Portable had this special media called the UMD, the Universal Media Discs. Smaller size of the PSP required a new format of games. Enter the UMD, tiny discs that could hold an impressive 1.8 gigs of data. Enough for full-sized games, feature films, and music. So what do we got? I see Patapon, hell yeah. There's Parappa the Rapper. There's Jack and Daxter. Gran Turismo. Oh, the Gran Turismo PSP game was surprisingly legit. I love the fact that they keep showing the UMDs. Wireless connectivity. There was actually a Phantasy Star game on PSP. There was an MMORPG on PSP. And the battery life was like 25 seconds. Me and my friend were playing it way after the PSP failed. The servers were still online. We would get it. You had to plug it into the wall to even play it. So I'd be in my own house playing the PSP plugged in. I had a girlfriend at the time, Nelly, if you see this. She used to make fun of me because she'd be like, why do you have a portable console that you never play portably? I was like, leave me alone. I was like, it's portable because it's in my hands. Oh my God. Infrastructure and ad hoc. Oh my God, that's right. You were able to play stuff. You could communicate. Ad hoc made it so you could actually connect to the PlayStation 3 and make the PlayStation 3 make lobbies. So stuff like Peace Walker and stuff you could play online. Oh wow. Can I scroll this? Oh, I can. Look at that. God of War Chains of Olympus. Oh. Why did they show the one bad Grand Theft Auto? Dark Mirror, Ape Escape, Loco Roco. I have to this day my most played Metal Gear Solid is Peace Walker. I put in 213 hours on the PSP. My lord. Okay. I just realized this video is going to be an hour long. Maybe let me go a little bit faster here. PlayStation 3. Oh yeah. Is this video going to break as well? Nope, there it goes. Okay. Released in 2007. Oh man, this is another one that it was just so expensive. People now forget it, but the PlayStation 3, when it originally launched, it was like $500. I knew one guy who got a PlayStation 3, my buddy Chris. He got a PlayStation 3. His parents bought him the console and nothing else. He was a big movie buff, so they bought it because it had a Blu-ray player and he does like video games. He could not find any games he wanted to play because at PlayStation 3's launch, there were so much less games than the Xbox 360. He traded his console. This is 100% real. He traded his console for store credit at a local card shop because he was obsessed with Magic the Gathering. He traded his PlayStation 3 for Magic the Gathering cards. I mean, to each their own, but still one of those things where we're like, bro, what the hell? At least trade it for an Xbox 360. Anyways, okay. The PlayStation 3 era built upon a legacy of the previous generations with incredible leaps forward in online gaming and digital services, while the Blu-ray advancements of games allowed creators to expand their ambitious world and build truly immersive game worlds on a grand scale. It does everything. That's right, so the launch one especially was able to play PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, and PlayStation 3 games. Very short-lived. The other renditions obviously could not play the PlayStation 2 games. As well as introducing gamers to single-player adventures and revolutionary online experiences, the PlayStation 3 became an entertainment mainstay in owners' homes thanks to the new music and movie streaming apps. Oh yeah, that's right. This is the first time where I think this ended up even having a version of Netflix where you could actually watch stuff through it. You could buy movies, you could buy music. One of the things you could do is you could turn on your PlayStation 3 with your PlayStation Portal. Your PlayStation Portable could turn it on and then remote play. You could stream it the way that exists now, but internet was way worse. One of the things I used to do back then is I would actually save music to my PlayStation 3 and then stream it to my PlayStation Portable. Now keep in mind, in the same house. Why did I do it? Just because it was possible, but it still was so freaking goofy. They sold 87 million PlayStation 3s. Man. It's wild because when the PlayStation 3 initially came out, it did seem like it was going to be a catastrophe. The early sales were so low, games took a bit to come out. A lot of developers complained about the architecture because it had asymmetrical processing. So it made it where making games for the PlayStation 3 was incredibly difficult. Some stuff like Portal, I don't think ever came to it. The Orange Box was supposed to be coming to it at some point. Orange Box was a huge success on the Xbox. It never came out. It's so weird to think about that. Oh yeah, the cross media bar. God, I still think the PlayStation 3's UI is still one of the best. I like PlayStation 4 as well. I'm going to say something controversial. I do feel like their UIs, their way of showing their desktop is losing sauce every generation. The PlayStation 3 was great. PlayStation 4 was also great, but I liked PlayStation 3 more. And PlayStation 5, by comparison, while being the most functional, is definitely the most flavorless, right? Gosh. Do we got a console variants? Oh, Blu-ray takes the stage. It's just so funny. Oh yeah, they had 6-axis controllers. You could actually tilt your controller and it would actually control stuff in the game. Oh my God, so bizarre. Let's click the PlayStation Vita. Oh my God. Okay, there it goes. PlayStation Vita, released in 2011. Oh my God. The world of play. This thing was roughly the power of a PlayStation 3. Oh my God, the rear touchpad, remote play. You could play your PlayStation 4 on your PlayStation Vita. Oh, you can see Limbo on the little screen there. OLED display and touchscreen. Man. It's so cool. I wanted a PSP for years and years and years, or sorry, a Vita for years and years and years. When I was working at the bookstore in this came out 2011. So yeah, I was already at the bookstore at this point. Somebody brought one in to trade in. We bought and sold used goods. Somebody brought in a PSP. None of the employees knew what it was. They didn't know how to Google it. You know, you would think the name Vita in giant white text would be a good hint. None of the employees knew what it was, so I didn't know how to price check it. And I managed to talk to the customer and buy it off them for super cheap. I think I paid $100 for it. So I got super obsessed with the Vita for years. God. Amazing indie games on PlayStation Vita. Oh my God. Gravity Rush. Oh, I got so obsessed with Gravity Rush. Little Big Planet, PS Vita. This is the first time I ever beat Persona 4. Persona 4 Golden was so amazing. Tearaway. This was a media molecule puzzle game where you would actually press stuff on the back screen and the front screen. By like pressing on the back, your fingers would come through into the game and become platforms. So there were puzzles where you had to like hold the back screen and jump. So freaking good. Oh my God. All right, let's go to PlayStation 4 here. I just want to do PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 because I'm not really a VR guy. So while I have had a PlayStation VR and I have no interest in the PlayStation VR 2, I'm gonna be a hater. I just don't think VR is that interesting or cool. You know what? Just for funsies, let's click the tab. I'm curious what. Yeah, some cool art. Hey, here's the headset. No Man's Sky. I did play Moss. Moss was good. Beat Saber's great. Astrobot's great. I mean, yeah, if you're a VR person, I think the PlayStation VR is cool, but not my style. The PlayStation 4. So, for people who have been watching the channel now for over a decade, the PlayStation 4 is pretty much what I consider to be the start of the channel. Like, I'd done videos before that, but the PlayStation 4 is when I finally sat down and decided, like, okay, I'm going to make videos. I'm going to review games. I'm going to do stuff. So a lot of my earliest reviews, a lot of the first real console stuff I was sitting down and doing was actually reviews of, I think I did a video about Destiny when Destiny came out, and Infamous Second Son and stuff like that. But man, arriving into a more connected world, the PlayStation 4 ushered in more social and shareable media experiences thanks to innovations like the DualShock Force share button, live gameplay streaming, player communities, and share play. But social features would be nothing without incredible experiences to share with friends, and that, fortunately, the PS4 had no shortage of. Yo, look at that. Tearaway, No Man's Sky, The Order 1886, Bloodborne, Until Dawn, Horizon Zero Dawn, Ghost of Tsushima. I especially like this selection of games because it is a good spread of, I think this is technically the last PlayStation 4 game released by Sony. Well, I guess now they've done more since then because we did God of War and stuff like that. But there is so much goodness in here. God, Bloodborne, The Order 1886. Isn't the studio gone now? Ready at Dawn there was rumors they were going to make a sequel to The Order 1886. A lot of people hated on that when it came out, myself included, but I think it's one of those games that now people are kind of looking back on with more reverence than we originally had. For the players, God, 117 million consoles sold. PS4 was the first console to launch in North America ahead of the release in Japan, Europe, and the rest of the world. Since then, it has sold over 117 million consoles. 8 gigabyte GDDR5. Yeah, so this is when graphics really started to get crazy good. 16 times the RAM of the PlayStation 3. The console variants. Ooh, beautiful. The Glacier White. Man, I wish I'd gotten this. That PlayStation 1 themed PS4. Oh my God, that looks so good. This was my favorite controller of all time for pretty much the entirety of the PlayStation 4 generation. I think I like the PlayStation 5 controller a little bit more, but I'm almost becoming nostalgic. Since I've been playing so much PS1 the last couple weeks, I kind of do wish that there was a way to play with a PlayStation 4 in PlayStation 5 games. I do think it'd be cool to use a PlayStation 3 controller or a PlayStation 2 controller. You know, I do definitely have a lot of love in my heart for that PS4 DualShock, though. Oh yeah, the origination of the touchpad, built-in microphone and speakers, so you could actually talk to people directly. Man, that's so cool. Iconic games, Killzone, Shadowfall. These were launch games, man. God, Killzone, Shadowfall, Resogun, Bloodborne, The Last Guardian. People, this is such a funny thing now. I feel like you couldn't even dig up the info on this because it's so specific and so long ago, but when Infamous Second Son came out, it came out almost the exact same time as the original Titanfall, which was an Xbox exclusive. And so everybody thought that Titanfall won because it was great. It's made by a lot of Call of Duty developers. It was honestly super hyped up, lots of advertising, and it being an Xbox exclusive and multiplayer and stuff, people thought it would skyrocket the sales of the Xbox. Infamous Second Son ended up selling more PlayStation 4s. More people bought that. There was a huge spike in sales of the PlayStation 4 when Infamous Second Son came out, and barely a blip on the radar when Titanfall 1 came out for the Xbox, which is just kind of wild. But again, I think that's just more of a testament to how few people even cared about the Xbox One at that point, the X-Bone, as everybody called it there. But man, God, I know I've made a video about this in the past, but the PlayStation 4 generation was just slamming, like from Sony specifically. Like we had a lot of good third-party stuff as well, but the fact that all of this, rows and rows of 10 out of 10 games made directly by PlayStation, I kind of miss those days personally, right? All right, let's end off with the PlayStation 5. I'm kind of curious what they're going to say about it, right? PlayStation 2. Released November 12th, 2020. Oh, that was so long ago. In November 2020, it was released in the midst of a global pandemic. The PlayStation 5 launched to bring a new level of unexpected and thrilling immersion, from radical form factor revealed to the tactical responsiveness of the DualSense controller. Yeah, I will still say I like the PlayStation 5 a lot, obviously, right? But this, I feel like, is the biggest changes that we're going to be feeling for a long time. The SSD, the fact that everything inside is so freaking quick, it does allow them to put more on screen, more characters, more AI, more craziness and stuff like that. And also, I think the DualSense controller is something I thought would be cooler. Now that we've had it for a little over 4 years now, as much as I like the vibration and stuff like that, I feel like the older I get, the more this does just feel like a whatever gimmick. The DualSense haptic triggers and super hyper accurate vibrations, it's neat, but if I didn't have it, I would never miss it, right? PS4 backwards compatibility, the different variants from the launch to the slim to the disk drive edition, very cool. New sensations with the PlayStation 5 controller, the PS5 accessibility controller, the DualSense Edge, their $200 controller. Iconic PlayStation 5 games. Yeah, man, these are all definitely iconic. I definitely know people talk about Sackboy's Big Adventure. Ratchet & Clank is 10 out of 10. Gran Turismo 7, God of War Ragnarok, Returnal, Elden Ring, God, Helldivers, Baldur's Gate 3, man. As many problems as I have with the PlayStation release schedule sometimes, you cannot freaking argue the fact that, man, when they get going, even if it is third-party stuff, Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the best games of all time. Helldivers 2 was such a blast. Astrobots, the new one that just came out a bit ago, is one of the best games of all time. It's been a fun ride. I just want to do a long rambly video because I do like PlayStation. I love PlayStation. When it's good, it's damn good. But what are your thoughts on 30 years of PlayStation? I'm sorry about this rambly video. I'm sure people in the comments are going to say too long, didn't watch or whatever. But I love you guys very much, and this was very fun for me. So have a good day. Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.